into a new world of gods and monsters.
He's alive!
Here's Johnny.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, I'm telling you, brother, it's a frightful sight to see what goes on Halloween night.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I don't know if you were watching Why We Love Horror Trivia. You probably weren't because you guys are not cool. But this is even cooler than that. This is Why We Love Horror. And this is the first live episode we've ever done. I'm here, as always, with my two beautiful co-hosts, Melissa Woody, and my camera's on. Tonight, we're talking about Talk to Me. But before we even get into that, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be back. We've been gone for a long time. Hopefully, you people are watching. Hopefully, you missed us because we missed you. And, you know, we have had a good string of horror movies come out. We haven't been able to talk about them. But probably the one that's had the most buzz just by having the A24 tag attached to it is Talk to Me. But before I get into the movie, how are you guys doing today?
Much better than yesterday. I'm glad to be here. And I'm excited that we're back. And I'm excited we're also going to maybe try some different things. So get ready for that. And yeah, I'm excited to talk to me today.
Mike?
Yeah, as Melissa said, there are a couple changes coming that you'll see today. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes.
If this goes well, I get to torture Melissa and Mike every week. That'll be fantastic. You guys get to see it live every week. With that being said, I mean, I know a lot of people out there have seen Talk to Me. You know, it's doing well. I'm hearing a lot of good stuff. You know, obviously, it has its roots in these YouTube guys that made a lot of videos. They made a lot of horror shorts. They finally had enough money put together and the backing of A24 after the fact to get a movie mass marketed. Talk to Me is an Australian supernatural movie. I like to include it in the realm of teens fuck around and find out type movies, which are really good movies, and there's so many of them. But this is the newest teens fuck around and find out movie. Basically, there's a party scene of teenagers, early 20s type people in this Australian community, and instead of doing Molly and having orgies, they have an embalmed hand. And this embalmed hand, when you touch it and say, "Talk to me," you could see the spirits of people that have passed. And if you say, "I let you in," they will possess you. And however, you're only allowed to have them in, I don't know how these kids know these rules, but 90 seconds. If they last longer than 90 seconds, they can cross over and possess you permanently. And wacky shit happens. The rules get played with as if you couldn't figure out that was going to happen. And then this one girl who recently lost her mother to suicide has a very deep experience, which seems to be an Australian horror theme of here's a family where one member has died. This is how we deal with grief. And of course, it's an A24 movie, so I will give it the elevated horror tag. A lot of great themes. It's more than just a horror movie. But let's get into it. Melissa, what did you think?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. I will say I feel like my theater experience was a little elevated more than the normal experience because I was all alone in my theater. And so I felt like that increased my experience in a good way. I feel like it made it a little bit more creepier, but just kind of overall non-spoiler thoughts. I thought the movie was really well made. I really liked the atmosphere that was established, and I thought the cinematography and just the vibe of the movie worked really well. And I thought all the performances were outstanding. And yeah, it's just overall good horror movie that I don't have a lot of complaints about, which we'll get to eventually, but I was really impressed by it.
Yeah, I had pretty much the same thoughts as Melissa, including the pace. I thought the pacing of this movie was really well done. It never stops. From the beginning to the end, it just keeps going, and you go for a fucking ride with this movie. I love the performances in here. The story in general was really well done, and yeah, for it being on the lower end of an independent movie, really well shot, really well directed for the budget they had.
Yeah, I'd say it's like a 94-ish minute movie. It's a little over an hour and a half. But honestly, this is one of those movies, like, it seems like the theme of like modern horror, I guess maybe horror in general, it's always like 80 to 90 minutes is like your standard. But in this universe, I wouldn't have minded if it went a little bit longer. It doesn't need to be Beau is Afraid length. But like, I wouldn't have minded it going like a little bit longer, because there's a lot of little things that I would have liked to see and fleshed out more. Because there's clearly a long history before we get to the present, and there's clearly stuff happening after the end of the movie. I don't necessarily know if we're going to get like this franchised or a sequel, but I do think they do kind of leave it open, and they definitely could do a prequel if they wanted to. So I'm interested in the world. I'm interested in the characters, and I think if they want to, and producers decide to, I'm not going to be angry if I get more Talk to Me in the future. That being said, go ahead, Melissa.
I was just gonna say, did we have anything else before we wanted to kind of dive into spoilers, or any non-spoilery thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's one thing, because I know there's another show on this channel that reviewed this movie already, and they complained about the makeup effects in this movie. And I want to say, I worked in a hospital, and those makeup effects for somebody that sustained those injuries are creepily accurate. So don't listen to Dylan and Payson there wrong.
Yeah, I would agree. I actually really thought the makeup was really, really strong in this movie. I understand that it's lower budget, but I thought it worked really well. Like all the effects, and I thought there was a lot of practical effects in this movie too, which I appreciate.
Yeah, with everything with sustained to that certain character, it looked very realistic.
Yeah.
Are we ready to throw up the spoilers?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Who
wants to be the first person to spoil stuff?
You go for it.
Can I just say at the top, and I said this in my Letterboxd review, and my Letterboxd is right there if you want to check it out. Riley is the legit, like, toughest kid I've ever seen in recent history. This kid gets the shit kicked out of him for like an hour of a 90-minute movie. And I'll give you a little bit of background. So, yeah, like we said, there's rules, right? So if you're touching the hand, if it goes over 90 seconds, you run into the danger of the spirit permanently inhabiting your body. Yes, Nazario, go.
Oh, 1,000%, yeah.
100% go. But for some reason, the one thing, like, they don't, and this might be a small complaint I have when we get to later on when I talk about what I would do differently, but like, they don't really talk about like how like the hand has like its own like metaphysical powers to it, I guess, because there's points like when a powerful enough spirit comes through the conduit, like they have difficulty separating the humans from the hand. So Riley gets like a really rambunctious spirit, and the spirit starts physically moving his body around the room in a way that it looks like he's trying to commit suicide via blunt force trauma, and they cannot get the hand off of him, and it goes like over the 90 seconds. That scene, the scene where the spirit is basically trying to get Riley to kill himself in front of all of his friends, is probably, I would say, it's not like the apex of the movie, but it's definitely the best scene in the entire movie because it's so brutal. The effects are really good, and there's real drama and suspense in that scene. And like how they do, like obviously he was on cables or something, but how they orchestrate the whole scene is like really well done.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm actually more on the opposite end of things, though. I kind of like the mystery, like the mystery behind the hand. Like, I don't really want to know more personally. Like, I think it works kind of being more unknown, this unknown entity. And I mean, something that I really, really loved with this movie is the strong metaphors and themes of like the hand being like human connection. Like a symbol and theme to that, with Mia recently losing her mom and having that kind of going through her process of that with grief. And I mean, typically when you're going through a dark time, it's typical to like kind of withdraw yourself from human connection and pick up vices, which in this movie, the vice is this hand that's possessing them because they get this high from it, which definitely has that strong metaphor and theme of like drug addiction. And I thought that was probably the like thing is the strongest in the movie, I would think, is like just like the overall themes and metaphors that they're able to kind of use visually and in the story.
Yeah, I think you both bring up good points of very strong moments in this movie, and yeah, the brutality that Riley goes through throughout this movie, including the ending of him in the wheelchair, and he still gets fucked up by when Mia decides to throw herself instead of him into oncoming traffic, he still gets rolled off the fucking wheelchair and falls down. So he still gets even more fucked up than he already is. But that I want to bring up a specific part of him basically getting his ass kicked by himself throughout that scene is when he's about to pull out his own eye. And it's like digging in his own eye. It looks so fucking realistic and so good and so brutal that when you finally see him in the hospital, you just see his eyes completely shut, closed.
He has like the sloth. He has the sloth face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so well done. And yeah, the theme overall is great. The way they go through it, how it slowly reveals itself until you finally get the conversation between Mia and her mom towards the end of the movie, and you get to see what exactly she's gone through with her mom and with her mom committing suicide and everything that happened with that.
So just to back up a moment, what were some other like key scenes in this movie that like stand out to you before we kind of go to the end? Because I definitely have some questions about something you brought up, but I'm gonna bookmark it for now.
I won't say a scene per se, but I will say like they do. Like I know I complained already about like the lack of mythology, but they do give you just enough mythology to make it be like, you know, interestingly ambiguous. Like so. They tell you that the spirits like can manipulate and show you whatever they basically want to show you. So it does raise the question that when Mia is talking to her mother, you know, when she's just talking to her, not letting her in, like, is she really talking to her mother, or are these malevolent spirits like manipulating her because they want?
Yeah.
Because if you remember, like when they first start, like when Haley brings the hand in and they first start experimenting with it, when Mia first gets possessed, she looks at Riley and she's like, "They like you." So you know, for some weird reason, like they want Riley, and they go. Is this whole movie just the lengths that malevolent spirits will go to possess Riley, or was she really talking to her mother? And like that's the question that you're left with at the end. And I think you can make a case for either one. I'm on that wasn't her mother's team. I don't know where you guys are.
I think it's almost maybe a little bit of both in a way. Like I almost feel like, because we do get to see a scene when kind of Riley's stuck in that purgatory state.
Oh.
So like it's hard to say. It's like is her mom there too or something? Like are all of them there? Like I don't know. I don't really know where I stand on it because I don't know. I feel like I need to think about it more. This is definitely a movie I want to see again as well because I'm curious to see what I might catch on a rewatch because they were able to pack quite a few different things in such a short runtime.
Yeah, I'm basically open-ended on it. Like John said, it could go either way, and I don't really have an answer to which way I think it actually went with it. I don't know if it was actually her or if it was the spirits just fucking with them the whole time.
Yeah, and go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I feel like they were like preying on Riley just because he's young, and I think it was just like that young energy, and it seems like they feed off the energy of children because it seems like it's like a children's thing that they're passing around with this hand. I mean, again, we don't know the origins of it all, so it's hard to say, but it's like this hot potato fun game that the teenagers are playing.
Well, we learned in the cold open of the movie that the previous owner, what was his name, like Puckett or whatever, like had the hand first, and he literally goes insane. Like, so we're led to believe that he is one of the people that broke the rules, obviously. And you look at the hand, you can see it behind Melissa. Obviously, that hand has been graffitied to shit by like thousands of owners beforehand. So who knows? This hand probably has a longer history even than we see at the beginning of this movie. So we know that the first person we see that's been like affected by this hand is disturbed to the point that he almost kills his brother and then kills himself, like right in the cold open.
Yeah.
So before we're even introduced to Mia and Jade and Riley and all of them, we see this character and his brother and like a full on, and like it's a really good. There's also some social commentary, like some world star hip hop stuff going on, because he's coming out of the room arguing with his brother, and everyone's filming them, and the brother's like, have some respect, whatever, and then that gives the kid the opening to stab him and then stab himself in the face, which is as far as cold opens go, extremely effective. I think given what we've dealt with nowadays, that's a really good opening. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I was like, damn, that was really brutal. Like, I was like, okay, this is where we're starting. Okay, because like, Payson kind of mentioned it too. I like going into the movie and how it started. I was like, oh, is this gonna be kind of like bodies? But it definitely, like, I think very early on, the tone felt very like serious. It didn't feel that silly. I mean, we have silly moments a little bit throughout, but overall, like, the tone is fairly like serious. So yeah, no, I thought the opening was really strong. And I was just like, all right, buckle up, because this was a really brutal opening.
Yeah, that is honestly how you open a horror movie. It was just perfectly done, of him just walking into the house looking for his brother, and then just slowly building to that moment where his brother turns around and stabs him, and then stabs himself. And yeah, bringing up the tone, the big scene that it does kind of switch to kind of more comedic, less serious and a little more comedic, is a montage scene of them fucking with the hand the entire time and everything like that, which I think is also well done as well. It gives you that little levity moment before all hell breaks loose, because right after that is when Riley gets hit, and then everything just fucking goes down from there.
There's also the really small comedic scene when the boyfriend, and we'll get to that wacky love triangle in a second, when the boyfriend is possessed, and it's obviously by like a sexually preoccupied demon or spirit, and he falls on the ground and he proceeds to get to first base with the dog, which is funny, but not unnecessary. But I said what I said.
Yeah, like I feel like there was a lot of moments in this movie that were like funny and disturbing. Like, honestly, that dog scene was disturbing. Like, I was kind of like shocked by it, and I was also like really grossed out by it, but it really worked. Like, I wasn't like mad about it. I thought it was great. It was very effective, but it was like, ugh, like I felt gross, for sure. And another very comedic scene I want to bring up, that's fairly early on in the movie, is when Mia and Riley are singing Chandelier in the car, before they kind of encounter with the kangaroo. Loved that. And then also the little crazy frog ringtone. Nice touch.
Yes. There are a lot of good flourishes in this movie too, I gotta say. There's attention to detail, which I appreciate.
Yeah, is there any other like key scenes you guys wanted to bring up?
Can I point out that Miranda Otto's in this, and it's nice to see her?
Oh yeah.
I was like I actually did like a double take. I'm like, oh wow, Miranda Otto, awesome. And like as like the confused mother who, like, obviously Mia is not a part of her family, but is a part of her family, and she feels for her because her mother has died, but she's also involved with her son almost dying. I think Miranda Otto kills that whole like conflicted arc.
Oh yeah,
as like a secondary character, she's great.
Yeah, no, she's wonderful, and I like how kind of sassy she is. Like, she's this kind of single mom, or at least they're separated. It's kind of I can't remember what happened with the dad, but anyways, like, she's like the single mom raising the two kids, but like she doesn't have time for bullshit, but she like knows kind of what's going on with her kids. She's like, you're clearly going to a party, or you're gonna sneak out or whatever, and kind of just calls them on it. But they like don't really like, I feel like, give in to her or like connect with her as much as I think she would like. But no, I thought her character was great, even though it's not like a big character in the movie. Like, we don't get to see her that much, but the little we do see, I feel like worked really well. Like, it felt fleshed out for the most part. Yeah,
she absolutely kills this role, and yeah, it was a very big surprise seeing her in that, because I did not see any of the trailers for this movie at all. I kept myself very hidden from anything involved in this movie because I wanted to go in as a surprise. So I don't even know if she's in any of the trailers.
Yeah, she got that Lord of the Rings money. What's she doing in this movie? That she's there.
Yeah, she's fucking there, and it works. And speaking of performances, I want to bring up Sophie Wilde as Mia and Joe Bird as Riley. Both of them absolutely kill it. The relationship together and separate, like everything with Riley, it's fucking awesome. Joe Bird fucking kills every part of that, and he's out of it for a good 40 minutes of this movie because he's in the fucking hospital after he brutally gets beaten. But then Sophie Wilde, she holds the movie up high on her shoulders the entire time, and she does it so well, including the bedroom scenes of her and the I can't think of his name, but the other of her friend's boyfriend,
Daniel.
Daniel,
thank you, and everything that involves with that, everything with that of her basically seeing it through an outside perspective and then it cutting to it's actually her doing it is such a great thing, and she plays it off so well. What did you guys think of the performances of this?
Yeah, I mean, she commits, she puts a foot in her mouth and sucks on it. So that, I mean, hey, good for her that she did that and committed to that role.
Yeah, I thought she was one. I mean, I think she's the standout. It's Sophie Wilde. Like, I think she's able to convey a lot of different emotions throughout. Like, I think, she conveys the grief part really well. She is really creepy when she's kind of being possessed and sucking on feet. And like, I think it has to do with like kind of her big eyes and just she's really able to convey a lot just with her face, which is really effective. And I will say another scene that I really liked with her that's fairly early on in the movie is she's washing dishes at the sink with her dad, and I think that's a really key scene to like establish their relationship, how like disconnected they are. And the sound design in this movie is great too. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, in regards to performances, I'd say Sophie Wilde is the standout. But I also thought Zoe Terakes, I don't know if I'm saying that right, I'm sorry. I thought they were wonderful. I feel like her or them and I think his name is Josh or I don't know. The two like people who had the hand Josh.
Two S's.
They just seemed like bad news, and I felt like they're just those kids that you don't want your kids to like hang out with. And I feel like they did a really good job conveying that like type of character.
They're like those kids where it's like they're just lucky. Like it's like a fuck around and find out movie. It's like they're kids that like there's kids that like do drugs, right? And like the drug metaphor is strong. Like there's kids that just recreationally do drugs, right? And nothing ever happens to them. Like they just do whatever the hell they want. They don't get addicted or whatever. But then like they invite one kid to the party and that kid overdoses, and they're like nothing ever happens to them, even though they're the druggies. Which is kind of like what happens in this movie. Like clearly, yeah, Haley and Joss are old pros, even though they have no fucking idea what they're doing with the hand. Like they're old pros, and they think they know the rules, but they don't. And they're just right on the edge, and they've done this dozens of times. Nothing bad's happened, even though they know the guy they got the hand from killed himself and stabbed his brother. They don't, because it can't happen to me. It's like the invincibility of adolescence put on display. And talk to me.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to say in regards to like positives, I love that the kids in this movie talk like kids, because I feel like too often we see movies where it's just like really awkward dialogue and it feels really like shoehorned and like just not authentic. And I mean, I don't live in Australia. I don't know if this is like true to the Australian teenager experience, but like I believed it. Like it seemed like a very believable like scenario, and I thought the dialogue was really effective. And
once there was Kangaroo Roadkill, I was like, this is the teenager experience.
Is there any other positives you guys wanted to highlight?
I'll talk about the dad a little bit, Max, with Marcus Johnson. He was good. He didn't have much to do, but as the father who clearly lost his wife, daughter is taking it poorly and is kind of the arbiter of, well, I can't give her the full truth. And then that kind of plays into my case where that wasn't her mother she was talking to, because they're playing on this doubt to turn her against her father. And then when she has the whole hallucination that her father's attacking her, it's all the more real. So like all of his performance, like he's not in the movie a ton, but like what he was given to do, he definitely nailed it. I would say 100%.
Which also gives out. Oh, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
It gives out to a very brutal death scene for him, which is.
I don't know if he dies. I don't know if he dies.
It's kind of left unknown, but I mean, it looks bad.
Not many people come back.
Yeah.
But he's alive when Jade finds him.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, kind of moving into maybe some more negatives or nitpicks. I kind of wish we got a little bit more at the dad. I don't know if that was kind of the point of just showing how like disconnected Mia is to her own family, because obviously her mom died, so now it's just like her and her dad. And it seems like she's kind of reclaiming this other family with Riley and Jade, so I don't know. I kind of wish we got a little bit more with the dad, but at the same time, like John said, like I felt like the little time we did get with him, I thought it was great. But I definitely would say that's kind of one of my nitpicks with the movie. What about you guys?
I'll get to my nitpicks. I'm gonna specifically nitpick this movie. Not that there's much to nitpick. No spoilers about what I'm gonna rate the movie, but I can make this movie better.
I guess before we go into more nitpicks, was there any other positives or scenes we wanted to cover?
Let's talk a little bit about like creature effects is like just a catch-all term, but like when you actually saw some of the spirits, and clearly like some of them died in clearly horrible ways, like waterlogged, crazy nonsense. But like I think a lot of the 13 ghosts-ish types creature effects with these people also really well done, because like you never knew, like when like you always saw it from their perspective.
Yes.
The observer of the possessed person's perspective, then it would switch to the possessed person's perspective, and you never knew what you were going to get. Like they could see a normal dead body, they could see an absolutely screwed up like Peter Jackson in the early 2000s level, early 90s level dead body. Who knows? It was the full gamut.
Yeah, no, I thought the design of the ghosts or whatever, the people beyond or the people connected with this hand or whatever it is, I thought it was really effective. I'm trying to remember. I feel like I want to say it was one of the first people that Mia saw when she first did it the very first time. It was like this lady. I felt like she looked kind of wet, and like swamp. It almost. Yeah, like I thought she was super creepy. I was like, I would be like, I'm out. Like,
when they reveal the person that's like possessing Riley, it's like this like hot dog looking burnt old man, like the guy that's possessing Riley. So like there's clearly it's clearly like a purgatory for people that died horribly.
Yeah.
Or like the only people you can communicate with.
Yeah, again, it's hard to say like what the connection is to all this, or like if it's just everyone that's dead or horrible deaths. I don't know. But I don't know. The more and more we talk about it, I feel like I am kind of more in your camp of I don't think it was her mom. This is why I like to talk it out, because like I didn't really know how I felt about it. I guess like another scene I wanted to bring up was it's along the toe sucking scenes, but like before that, I thought it was a very effective like creepy scene of like that ghost lady in the corner, kind of like Hereditary, where you can't really, it's like you kind of see something, but you're not quite sure, kind of squinting, and then you're like, oh shit, okay, there's something in the corner there. And it definitely like freaked me out enough to like I had to like look around my theater because I was kind of like, oh god, is somebody in the corner? Like that was definitely one of the scenes that like kind of got to me, got under my skin. And then obviously moved on to the toe sucking, which I was like, yeah, because like, disturbing.
We're in a position where we know the rules, the small rules that have been laid out by these clear novices that have no idea what they're doing have been violated, right? Yeah. But Mia's not. The guy's name is Duckett, by the way, not
Duckett. Yes.
Sorry, James, not you. Duckett. So basically, like she's not obviously not as far gone as he is, because she's not like, Iggy Pop yet. She's this, right? But like, but clearly like she's on the road to that. And like the scene you're talking about is like, is this what drives you crazy? Like, because if this is what's going on, like where like you could be like just set upon any time by anything you've seen, that's berserk, And
then it's kind of interesting because it like transitions to, if I'm remembering it correctly, to her mom, and then like because Daniel kind of leaves after that point, and then I think that's when she like touches the hand again, and she's talking to her mom, and then like her mom's like cuddling her to sleep, and it was very like sad, but like very sweet as well. So it was like a very interesting transition.
Yeah.
But if it isn't her mom, that changes.
Well, was there any other scenes, or I guess maybe do we want to start talking about some kills?
Sure.
I guess we talked about 2 of them already.
I mean, how many kills are there in the movie? 3.5.
Yeah, because we get like the opening scene, which we already talked about.
Yeah.
And then the dad ?
He's the half. Yeah, I get 2.5 really, because you really only get Duckett, Mia. The dad gets injured heavily. Riley gets injured heavily. Yeah. And that's really it. I mean, but you can imagine that looking at that hand, there's a storied history that we don't know about.
Which, surprisingly, for a movie like this that you would think would rely on, hey, there's a group of kids, we're going to fucking kill majority of them. There's not many deaths in it, and it works really well. It works really well for what they do, because usually these type of movies, they just go straight in the way, yep, let's take this person out, let's take this person out, let's take this, until it dwindles down to the last few. But this movie, they keep everyone basically alive.
And a lot of people are like very safe. Like Jade never touches the hand, I don't think. And the other kid, was it Riley's friend, never touches the hand. They're just characters that are there. They're just there's literal observers to the nonsense.
Yeah.
Which actually sets off the fact that like they look legitimately crazy, because these other people cannot relate.
Yeah.
They cannot relate. And even Daniel, who had some weird experiences, never held on to the hand long enough to cross over. So he can't relate. And then Joss and Haley can't relate, though they should.
Which it actually gives me off very like big Flatliners vibes of them wanting to experience something that they see their friends experience, or not wanting to experience it because they see what they're experiencing it. And it's a new take on that, is instead of them experiencing death, it's them experiencing possession. And I think it's an interesting take there of going through that. Like the entire, like the plot is so simple, but it hasn't really been done in this way of showing, we're going to show a bunch of kids and having their fun experiences with trying to go through possession and the bad effects to it, and the good effects. If you believe that it's a mom, it could have either effect on it.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the criticisms that I was hearing is like, well, I don't get it. Like, why would somebody touch the hand and like be possessed? And I'm like, that's the whole point. Is like and it goes into like the whole metaphor of the drug use. It's like you see people struggling, and like why would you shoot up your arm, or however you're ingesting or consuming your drugs, and it doesn't make sense. And I think that's like it. I think it emphasizes that metaphor even more. But I saw a lot of people kind of criticizing, like, I just don't get it. Like, why would they do that? I'm like, because they're teenagers.
There are news stories of teenagers soaking tampons in vodka and shoving them up their own asses. So I don't think touching an embalmed hand really registers on that scale. I'm more likely to touch that hand.
Yeah, it's like the Tide Pod challenge.
I'm not going to eat a Tide Pod, but I'll touch that hand. Yeah.
Well, before we go into some more nitpicks, because I want to get there, was there any other scenes besides like the final? Because I definitely want to get to the final kind of scene, but I think that's kind of its own thing.
There's the only thing we didn't really talk about, I think, is like the second time Riley goes berserk. Like when they're giving him the sponge bath, and then like, he wakes up enough that the spirit takes over again, and he starts breaking the tiles on the wall with his own head, and then he drinks his own blood, which is a chef's kiss moment. Good on him for going the full distance. Like that's berserk too. Like everything that Riley goes through is legit. Like I don't know if it's probably been done before, but like not like this and not in this pattern. It felt new to me, the Riley experience.
Yeah, no, I like honestly I think that might have been the most brutal scene to me, was like the shower kind of scene where he's just banging his head against the tiles. Like I kind of had to look away for a second, and I don't usually have to do that. I feel like such a wimp. I will say I kind of was in a vulnerable state of mind going into this movie, and sometimes it's a good and a bad thing. It's like, ooh, I got a little bit more scared than usual just because I wasn't in like the best of moods, and I was like, I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling scared. So a big nitpick that you kind of, I think, referenced earlier, John, was this love triangle situation. I definitely think it's one of the like weakest parts of the movie. Like it doesn't really add anything. It almost just, I guess, it adds to like what makes sense to the story of like, oh, Daniel went over to her house to like console her, I guess, because maybe he still has some feelings, so he could be there for the toe sucking scene. But like, yeah, it just I just felt like it didn't really add anything. I didn't think it was really that necessary. So that's definitely one of the weaker parts of the movie. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's a lead up to getting it's definitely a lead up to getting that toe sucking scene, and to add a little drama between those two before doing the whole hell that Riley is going through. They needed to give extra drama, and it just doesn't hit as hard as if it was an integral part of the entire movie, which it's not. It's just a secondary small portion that kind of just is there to be there.
I think we'll come back to me when I focus. But I think you get the same drama with or without Mia and Daniel having a history. Like whether or not I held this girl's hand 3 years ago, if my foot's in her mouth, it's the same amount of drama if I'm dating another girl. All right, like my foot better not be in her.
Yeah. Was there any other, I guess, negatives to this movie or nitpicks that we wanted to say besides your rewrite, which we'll talk about?
I'll get to that, but yeah, not really. Yeah. You hit on the major one, so that's good.
Okay. So I guess another one that kind of leads, I think, into the final scene is I do kind of feel like the third act was a bit rushed. Like John was saying, I feel like I could have had a little bit more time with this movie. Like I wouldn't mind it being a little bit longer. It's not that it was bad per se. Like I thought like beginning to end was good, but I do feel like it did get a little rushed towards the end. The ending kind of scene felt like it was all kind of happening really fast. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I think the moment. Oh, go ahead, John.
I agree only because like it's another little nitpick. Like they could have cut out a few things and added a little more detail, because honestly, the leap of Riley being basically being comatose to Mia being able to get him in a wheelchair out of the hospital with nobody seeing. I'm going to suspend my disbelief a little bit. I don't know about the Australian healthcare system. If Kelly wants to chime in and clue me in, that's fine. But like, I don't think I would have liked to have seen that small piece just to help me out. That's little things like that. Like you could. It's more like the fixing the movie is more like cut this, add this, give me the director's cut, flesh out it. You can keep all the mystery you want. Just flesh out some of these character relationships of the human characters a little bit more. And this movie's like could get up to 5, I think, pretty easily. Mike?
Yeah, I think the hospital scene is like the last half of the hospital scene is the one that can be retooled a little bit to actually make this movie even stronger than it is. Because you could have added, like the moments of her getting out of the hospital. Because they do show the moment of her finding a way to get the family out of the room, which is interesting. But then they just cut from there to them already outside, and you're going, okay, so what the hell led up to that? That could have been a good suspenseful moment of her getting him out of there and maybe dealing with him again being possessed in a way throughout that as well.
So a big question I have that I was like, I'll bookmark it until we kind of get here is, do you all think Mia got pushed, or do you think she actually threw herself and sacrificed herself? Where do you kind of stand on it? Do you think like Jade got to her in time and like pushed her to the ground, or do you think she was able to like regain consciousness and like sacrifice herself?
There's two schools of thoughts on it, I think, and they're similar. There's either like Mia gained enough sentience to know that like her and Riley are both at risk, so let me kill myself because I love Riley as a brother, or that awesome. I'm glad. So let us know your thoughts. Keep typing away. So either that she actively killed herself, or that basically the spirits said, well, we don't have a strong enough hold on Riley anymore, but we do have a strong enough hold on Mia, so let's just kill her to get a body. So either she actively did it or she was pushed to do it, but either way, she becomes the victim instead of Riley.
True.
I'm not complaining.
What do you think, Mike? Where do you stand?
I think she actively did it. Looking at everything, I think it's that fact of her getting sentient enough to actually actively do what she needed to do to finish it. Kind of like the Exorcist version of it is having just enough in there before she's overtaken to do what she needs to do to finish this once and for all.
Yeah, that's weird about
the fact that she winds up, not that I'm spoiling the entire ending, but the fact that the ending is the way the ending is, obviously she must have been possessed, because they say that the only way you get there is if you die while they possess you. So she clearly crosses over, so she must have been possessed.
I was just going to say, it's weird. Like a year ago today, I think me and Mike were doing my Exorcist episode, and I asked him I asked you like the same question. Like, do you think he was pushed or he sacrificed himself? But yeah, no, I'm with you. I personally think, she sacrificed herself, just because like I feel like the way that the scene is like shot in her face, like it seems like, I don't know, she had some kind of consciousness. So I guess any other thoughts before I kind of talk about some behind the scenes fun facts?
Let's hear those facts.
Let's go through the facts.
Yeah. So John kind of spoke to it earlier, but Danny and Michael Filippo, hopefully I'm saying that right. They are YouTubers turned filmmakers, so that's just a cool fact in itself. And they're twins. But the thing that I think is interesting is kind of the inspiration of this movie. I guess kind of growing up, they saw a neighbor or like a friend of theirs who had a bad interaction with a drug, and the friends that he was with were filming it, and like that video kind of circulated in their friend group, and that's just something that was very like impactful to them growing up, and it was really disturbing to see how disconnected these friends were to their friend having this bad interaction with a drug, and instead of like, helping them or something, that they just filmed it and kind of made a spectacle of it. So I thought that was really interesting, that was kind of the inspiration of the movie. I will say it sounds like there's potential for a sequel, which I think they want to like write it as like Talk to Me.
There we go. What they should have done was Now You See Me. They used the title and they put it in there. They're already on the right track.
Coming to America.
But yeah, it seems like they have enough script and like ideas to do a sequel. So I guess we'll see. It seems like it's doing fairly well at the box office, so it's possible. I'm personally like indifferent. Like I really liked these characters. I wouldn't mind seeing them again or seeing this again, but at the same time, like I'm happy with what it is. So like I don't always like going down like the franchise route because it's not always good.
Yeah.
Would you guys want to see a sequel, or
maybe? Like there's real potential to fuck this up, but I'll get to that. I'll let Mike talk. I'll get to that.
Okay. I will say I would rather see a prequel than anything of showing how
that's safer.
Yeah, how the hand got to where it is. Like, give me something of the history of the hand and go from there. I think, and have like kind of like the 13 Ghosts approach. Don't do a sequel. Do a fucking prequel. And
If they just did prequels where, you know what, it would be a great concept. If they just did prequels where the cold open of each movie was just the concept of the movie that's coming next.
Yeah.
I would buy, like, so the cold open of Talk to Me, Talk to Me Too, or Talk to Me is some other person, but then Talk to Me is Duckett's story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then you keep going back, because going forward, I'll tell you what, going forward is a problem.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead. I guess the last fun fact is they worked on the Babadook, which I feel like maybe we talked about at some point, but that was cool. They were like
another Australian movie about a dead family member.
Yep, they were crew hands for that, so that's cool. And then now they're they have a deal to do a Street Fighter movie, so that will be
Interesting. Going
interesting.
From this to Street Fighter. Yeah.
So those were my fun facts. I don't know what we're gonna call this segment, but
I hope it's an
yeah.
A24 Street Fighter movie. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, like, can I fix it?
Yeah.
Going just before doing an actual sequel to Talk to Me would be weird, because like the one thing that they never really address is not only like when Haley and Joss are in control, that clearly they're cultivating this environment where everybody in the room is taping what's going on. So are these videos not being shared? Are they not being live? Are they not on YouTube? Are they not on Snapchat? Are they not on Instagram? It's weird that no one, it's always novel to everybody when everybody seems to be taping everything. They taped Duckett killing himself. They taped Duckett stabbing his brother. There's tapes of Daniel being possessed. There's tape of Mia being possessed. There's tape of Riley being possessed. But that never comes full circle. No one ever finds Haley and Joss, right? So if you go forward in time, especially at the end of the movie, where clearly this hand has made it to Latin America somewhere, there's got to be days of footage online, right? Where it's like, it's not a hoax anymore. People are like, this hand is a real thing. So if you go forward in time, yeah, the CIA should be in possession of this hand, right? So that's why you go backwards in time, where like it's not as notorious yet. So I think a sequel has to be a prequel. Now, as far as this movie, like, how would I fix it? Everything we talked about is cool. Like, the love triangle, scrap it. There's a few other small like character things we could scrap. There's a lot of like really minor things that go nowhere in this movie, and they don't detract from the movie, but it is time wasted. I'd like to have seen more time with Mia and her dad. I'd like to have seen more time with Mia and Riley, probably before anything even happens. Give me like 20 extra movies. Give me the director's cut. Give me that character development. More time with Sue and her kids. Everything. You don't have to give me a ton of like the spirits. I guess keeping them ambiguous is part of the charm. But make it more clear that Haley and Joss have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Like they should have no authority. I think they need no authority. Like it should be very clear that they're just making these rules up. They have no idea what they're talking about. I think if you go full force, like, hey, we don't know how the fuck this thing works. The movie works better. There should be no rules. Like, or if we do get a prequel, it should be that there are no rules and we realize there's no rules. That's a 5-star movie.
Well, I think you fixed it all right there. I will say there was 3 cuts of this movie that they kind of all combined, because both of the brothers had a cut and then the editor as well, and then they all kind of like combined it into this one version. From the interviews I was kind of seeing, it seemed like when this does end up being on some kind of physical media, I think they'll have a director's cut available, which it is about 20 minutes longer. So
I'm interested in that. And just to answer Andy's question, I had no sound issues in my theater. AMC Center Valley 16.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the sound design was great, and I mean, I was by myself, so I mean, I thought the sound was a little too effective at times, because I was like looking around a lot.
Yeah, compared to other horror, like I'll compare it to like Drag Me to Hell, where they make the sound overly fucking loud on like the jump parts just to get you to jump. I didn't have that issue with Talk to Me. They didn't really try that with that. The sound was pretty on the nose the entire time, for at least on my end.
Yeah, same. Cool. Well, do we want to move into some ratings?
Yeah, let's get into the ratings. Let me take the spoilers off. And yeah, how we rate movies, we go through VHS tapes. We go through half to 5. Or you can rate it 0, but, we don't have a thing for that because, who the hell's going to rate the fucking movie 0 on this one? So let's start with Melissa. Melissa, what would you rate Talk to Me half to 5 VHS tapes?
Yeah, I guess just some wrap-up thoughts. I thought, again, the movie was really well made. Like, I really don't have that many nitpicks on, like, the surface level. Like, the performances were great, cinematography was great, sound design was great. The theme and metaphors were very strong, which I love. I love metaphors, so that very much worked for me. But I felt like, I don't think any movie is ever going to top The Exorcist, and I know they've been trying ever since. But I do think it was a unique enough way and refreshing way to kind of do this subgenre. So overall, I will give it 4 out of 5 VHS tapes. And I do really want to rewatch this one. And I feel like on a rewatch, it's either going to go up or it's going to go down. And I can't tell which way it's going to go right in this current moment.
I like it. And I guess I will go next. I had similar thoughts as Melissa. I think it was well done. It's not perfect by any means. There are stuff that can be changed to make it even better. But for what I got, I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I can't wait to watch it again. I also gave it 4 out of 5 VHS tapes, which we end with John. John, what did you give Talk to Me?
No shock. It's like my favorite horror movie rating. I also gave it 4 out of 5. But like, I have a feeling just with like how much, like, honestly, this isn't, I usually don't like think a ton about horror movies, but like Talk to Me is interesting to me. Like, I'm really invested in that mythology. So I think this might actually go up on rewatch. Like, I'm not even giving, it can either stay the same or go up. I can't see this movie going down because I think the concept is like really interesting. If the Philippou brothers are watching, please don't do a sequel. Give me a prequel. Sequels are going to fuck with this franchise. Go backwards in time. I think you have a gold mine if you go backwards. Do that.
And we have another comment. Let's see. Let's have a comment, please. I don't know what's going on there.
I agree with that.
Oh,
They don't really. I think that's kind of what I would say. Like, if you want to flesh out characters more, if the dad really isn't Australian, if he just happened to marry an Australian lady, just say it. That's fine. Like, I hate British and Australian movies where like there's just somebody that talks like me. It's like, what the hell are you doing there? You don't believe it. And then like, the only thing I would say about Miranda Otto's performance, especially when she's like bitching at Mia, it's like her son's like at death's door. Like, you cut her some slack. That it makes sense. I probably would act the same way, especially when she thought that he was like on bath salts or whatever the hell, because like that's the only rational explanation why a kid would like smash his face into a wall 15 times and try to pull his eye out. If you've seen M for Masticate in ABCs of Death 2, which is exactly, that's how people act on bath salts.
Which I will say, just to clarify, like, when I guess the interviews that I've been seeing with them, like, it sounds like they have like potential to make like a second one. I don't know if it's going to be like a sequel or a prequel. Like, I felt like in a way they almost were alluding to that it might be a prequel, but again, don't even know if it's going to happen. But anyways, I just wanted to clarify that. So, we wanted to talk or recommend some other A24 movies.
Yeah, like if you're not on the A24 train by now, like get on it. Right? I said, like, I would like Mike and Melissa pick movies you want to watch first, just in case they pick the one I'm going to say. So, and I'll just pivot. So go ahead, guys. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go, and I'm going off what I originally said before this call. But, so sorry. I feel like this one is really underrated in my opinion, and I think not enough people like talk about it, which I would recommend watching Under the Skin. I feel like the sound design in that movie is incredible. Like, it's definitely one of those ones I really wish I saw in the theaters, because there's just like this constant heartbeat the entire movie, and just the music is really like menacing. And I thought Scarlett Johansson killed it, and I love kind of the twist that you get at the end. I didn't see it coming, so I think that's a really kind of cool horror movie. But I mean, of course it is. It's A24. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, I absolutely love Under the Skin. I think it's really well done, and yeah,
It's also like earlier A24, so like there really was not much to draw from, so they definitely went for it, and it's like it's basically experimental. So like it's not begotten experimental, but it's experimental. So like, and I liked it a lot.
and I guess I will go with The Witch. It's fucking amazing. It's a very slow burn of a movie, but it's done so well. It's paced so well that it just goes from very. It only has 3 locations throughout the entire movie too. You got the town for a little bit, you got the woods, and then you got the house. And it starts off very slow to where you just seen the family get basically marooned to this fucking cabin in the middle of nowhere. And then when it picks up, it just keeps going. You just see the fucking downfall of this family. And it just ends so brilliantly too with everything. I love everything about this movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's fucking great shit. What did you guys think of The Witch?
The Witch is like The Witch is growing. I used to be very anti Eggers. I used to like this fucking guy. But I went from The Northman and then I went backwards again. And I was like, oh, I was wrong. I apologize. I think everything he's done is actually great. I just didn't understand it my first time through. But I've grown as a person, so I think Robert Eggers is great. So I'm sorry I even said that he sucked out.
Yeah, I love The Witch. I'm obsessed. I desperately need to rewatch it. It's been a few years, but it's just one of those ones that like has really stayed with me. Just the images that you see, and I think Anya Taylor-Joy is incredible. And yeah, that ending shot, like I literally want like a painting of that in my house, or like I want that shot somewhere because it's just it's gorgeous.
I was at a brewery yesterday, and I have a Witch T-shirt, which I've worn, and like I was wearing it, and the bartender, I made my order, and the bartender was staring at me because she was looking at my shirt, and I got really uncomfortable. It's the one that says like, "Wouldst thou like to read voraciously with Book Philip?" And she's like, "What the fuck is your shirt?" And I was like, "Oh, it's like making fun of The Witch," and she just kept staring at me. I'm like, "It's a movie."
Oh my gosh, normies, they don't get it.
Yeah, these normies, and like they don't care. They're just so uncultured. But anyway, let me give you a recommendation. If you like Talk to Me, and you like movies where people are just being irresponsible with their friends, why don't you watch Climax? Because that's the most irresponsible shit that could ever happen with a group of people. Yeah. Hey, we're all together here. What if I just gave you all LSD and you didn't know about it? And that's the whole movie. It's just people going nuts on too much LSD. Gaspar Noé, is he a genius? If you say yes, something might be wrong with you, and I say yes, and something's definitely wrong with me. So, Climax, check it out. Have you guys seen Climax?
Yeah, no, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I agree with John. It is very irresponsible for everything that they go through, but yeah, I have a great time with that movie.
I think Talk to Me to Climax is your baby steps into A24.
Yeah, I've only seen it the one time, and I really liked it. I think it will go up on a rewatch. I will say some of the horror or like just elements of the movie are a bit gross to the point where like I truly felt like sick watching it. So I think now that I kind of know what the movie is like, I think I might enjoy it a little bit more because I know it's slightly going to happen on a rewatch. But yeah, it's an experience. It's a ride, and it's pretty gross, and it's a lot, but it's great.
Long shots, long 25 hours shots.
Well, I think we did it.
Yeah.
Our first live episode.
If you guys like this live episode, let us know. I mean, like, clearly we can do it. But if you prefer us to be taped and you don't like seeing us and interacting with us live, we understand. We're adults.
Other than that, make sure to check out Late Shift tomorrow night. Me and Kelly are coming back. Make sure to check out TLU this weekend. TLU match is going to be dropping like usual. Film Coven is going to be next Friday. The new hit show from Melissa here and Kelly are fucking killing it with that, so make sure to go check that out. And yeah, we will be back for sure next week, live or maybe pre-recorded. We don't know yet. An episode will drop on Thursday. Regardless if it's live or not, it will drop on Thursday like usual.
And if you have suggestions, what you want us to talk about, like a movie, a genre, a year, whatever, I don't know. Just let us know what you want us to talk about. Like, we can do it. We speak English. So let us know what you want us to talk about.
Perfect.
Do you have anything else you want to drop, Melissa?
No, all I will just say, watch more horror movies.
And watch horror trivia. We every Thursday night, no matter whether we do this live or not, trivia is always live on Thursday night. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell the weird kid that doesn't have any friends, because he definitely wants to watch it. Like, tell everybody and play. Come on and heckle. I don't care. Do it. Don't yell at the answers while people are playing. That's rude.
Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week for Why We Love Horror.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
Hurry back. Be sure to bring your death certificate.